I'm burned out. I'm tapped out. I just don't got no more to give. I don't. I don't. In this episode, we're going to be talking about motherhood burnout. So if you're ready, let's get right into the episode. If you're new here, my name is Naya, or you can call me Mommy Nye. I'm a stay-at-home mom of two, and I created this community for mothers to come together and share the ups and downs of motherhood and a little bit of womanhood too. And if you're not new here, hi, hey mama, welcome back. Always, thank you so much for listening to the Mommy and Then Some podcast. And like I said, today we're going to be talking about motherhood burnout, okay? Because I can't take it no more. I can't. Like, I'm tired. I'm over it for real. And I know when I start to feel like this, number one, I'll say you got to know your triggers. And my triggers are frustration, irritability, being short with my family, just mostly that's it. Being annoyed, feeling upset all the time at every little thing, kids being kids, your man being your man. You just irritated by every little thing. And I got to do better. I have to do better because it's not right for me to get like this with my family when honestly they've done nothing wrong. Again, just being who they are. So the problem is really within me. And I know there are a few things as to why I start to feel burned out and feeling this type of way. So I know the first thing is I have a lot on my plate as a stay-at-home mom. And I know that you do too. I know that you can relate. We all have a lot of things going on. And sometimes I feel like I don't get the moment or the second to just organize my thoughts like I need to, and properly just think about the things that I need to think about or put in place. And like the weight of everyday responsibilities, like I touched on before, where you have to cook, you have to clean, you got to figure out how to keep the kids busy and happy, how to keep yourself busy and happy, how to keep your partner busy and happy. There's just a lot of things that you have going on where some things you can't just be like, okay, cool, I'll get to it when I get to it, because it's just the everyday life responsibilities. And I wait until the last minute to speak up about needing my time. Again, like I said, I get frustrated. I start to show the signs, but I wait last minute, and it turns into like this whole mental thing for me. So when a lot of times I may say that I'm tired, it honestly may not even be physical exhaustion at first, but it starts off as mental exhaustion. And when I feel like I'm running on my last fumes, my last brain cells as far as how to think, it turns into physical. Like I said, just mental exhaustion just turns into physical for me. And I literally feel heavy. I feel like I'm just walking around in slow motion. I'm drained. Like I just don't have no more to give. I feel like, because I mentioned that I wait to the last minute to try to get my break or try to get my time in. And that comes from me sometimes feeling guilty about taking my time. And I don't know, mama, if you can relate. I know I hear a lot of mothers saying that they can relate, but I feel like if I'm stepping away, then I feel like things are not right, or things are not going to be in place. Things are not going to be taken care of how I want it to be taken care of. Right. And I feel like, moms make jokes about it all the time. Like if it's not done the way that I do it, then it's just not right. And we kind of got to get out of that mentality, but that's a part of it. And then I just feel guilty. Like I should be at home taking care of this, taking care of that, because if this is not done, then this starts to fall to the wayside. And that's just a whole nother thing. Again, aiding to that mental load that I have. And then I feel like if I don't do enough, or if I do slow down, I'm not doing enough. Like if I'm only focusing on a few things at a time, I'm not doing enough. And it's like, number one, I feel like that because of the narrative that's set around me. So I don't know if you can relate to where you've heard your spouse sometimes say like, oh, well, my mama or my grandmother used to do this or do that. Well, it's like, number one, I'm not your mama and I'm not your grandmother. But honestly, even seeing it with our grandmothers ourselves, sometimes you just hold this narrative like, oh, well, I used to see granny or my mama do, running themselves thin. When a lot of times they didn't talk about it to us, of course. They weren't in the way of like showing their young how they really felt. And that's a whole nother topic for another day. I feel like there's a few reasons for that, but you just start to take on that narrative is basically what I'm trying to say. I just feel like the pressure's getting worse. Or if I see, sometimes you can see your spouse doing a lot, doing this, doing that. And if you can't keep up at that moment, you feel like maybe you're not enough for them, or you're not keeping up with whatever they got going on, when you guys may be living and doing two different things. Like I discussed before, if my spouse is a working spouse outside of the home and I'm taking care of house and home inside, or I'm a stay-at-home mom, for example, we're living two different lives. So we both may be busy in our own way. It's just like the best way that I can explain it. But you just start to take on that narrative. You look around, you look at everybody around you, and you just start to be like, well, dag, this person got this person got this going on. This person is doing this and this and that. When it's like, what did they say? Like, comparison is the devil's playground, for real. You can't compare yourself to what everybody else is going on. But of course, it's natural. That's something that we do. So that's another reason why I start to feel like, mentally exhausted or just burned out, because I run myself thin of trying to make myself feel like, okay, I'm being productive. And it's like, by whose standards, like, am I going based off of the standard of my own about whatever I'm trying to be productive about, or whatever I'm trying to accomplish, not really what somebody else may think. And, when you're trying to be above average, or when you're trying to, how do I say, I guess accomplish a certain goal, they do give you that pep talk, or you do see a lot of the times where people are like, well, you have to work so many amount of hours, you have to put in so many amount of hours, or you have to be up at the crack of dawn and stay up till late night and do all this to be able to be above average. Now, although I do agree with that in some ways, I feel like you should make it work for you at the end of the day. When you're trying to be above average, you just have these high expectations. And again, that's what can set you off and make you just run yourself thin. It can. So you have to really set goals and boundaries, or set realistic goals for yourself. But we'll touch on that a little bit later. And another way that I know sometimes that I can run myself thin is kind of what I just touched on with the trying to be above average, but just waking up early. So sometimes I do that, and I'll have a good stretch of time where I'm waking up at a decent amount before the kids. And because I've gotten up so early, now I'm starting to get tired throughout the day, and I'm just wearing myself thin, basically. And you do hear a lot of the times where moms try to get up before the kids, because that's like the only time that you're able to get a peace of mind in, and I can only imagine for our working mamas, like when they have to get up before they get themselves ready for work, before they get their children ready to go to school for the day. That's basically like the only time that you're able to get that peace of mind, or late at night. So you're staying up late at night, and either way, it's just like this vicious cycle. So again, you're running yourself dry. And it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a sense, where you get that time in, but then you're like, geez, like I have no more to give. Like I'm just tired, but I know I want to stay up and accomplish ABC. And I know for me, even if I stay up, or the moment that I get a break, for instance, whether it's staying up at night, I wind up falling asleep, or I'm winding up sleeping extra in the morning, or sleeping over and waking up with the kids because I'm just tired. Like I really just want to get some rest. Like I'm trying to keep going, trying to keep running and going, but it's just getting hard. It's just getting really tough at that point. Another thing that bothers me sometimes is kind of feeling like I'm running out of time. I feel like if I don't get something done, then I missed an opportunity. Like it's just another opportunity lost that I could have been either creating content, trying to look for ways to make money, trying to whatever it is. I just feel like if I'm not using every waking second of the day, then I'm losing out on an opportunity. And again, you have to ask yourself sometimes, like, is that really realistic? Because I mean, when do you get that time to rest? When do you get that time to just take a breather? Because at that point, you're not. If you're looking for every nook and cranny throughout your 24-hour day to be doing something other than when you're asleep. And like we talked about, if you're already trying to cut down on your sleep time, just imagine how that can be. So, just me thinking about all these things, it's like, how do I try to manage that at the end of the day? And it does get kind of tough. But lastly, I realized that another thing that has me sometimes wearing myself thin is when you constantly have that narrative that going through something on your own makes you stronger. So for example, again, a lot of our family is up north. We're down here by ourselves trying to make it work. And me and my spouse, I've explained before that we kind of think differently in some ways, and us having support and help is one of them, which can definitely be tough at times. So whereas my spouse is very self-reliant, independent, let's work it out, let's get it done, because nobody can do it like we can. We're not about to rely on nobody. And the adverse, where I'm like, listen, I come from support, I come from help, and I really see the importance in making it work. Because a lot of the times we do think about, oh, how granny made it work back then. But if you think about it, even though you may not have been left with granny's friends or family a lot of the times, or your mama or whoever, they did still have a support system in some way. So again, kind of go back to my comment about how your mom or your granny may have not showed you that she was going through something, but you never know. She might have had coffee or tea with her girlfriend the other day and got it off her chest and been able to talk about it. So either way, you have that support, whether it's childcare, whether it's just having your other mom friends to be able to vent to, just share that womanly time with and get away for a second, or even take care of your children together as one. I know you guys see those memes sometimes where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to take my kids over to my friend's house and now all 6 of our kids going to have fun together. Like, and we could just be stressed out together. Those things are true. And it does like ease the load a little bit, So trying to make myself think that it's okay not to have a support system definitely has been running me thin. And I'm going to just be real with it. Like, it's not cool. I don't think that it should be this way. I seen on another podcast, some women were talking about that, and she basically said, like, it wasn't meant for us to be doing this all alone, let alone parents being single parents. But for parents to be doing stuff on their own, like, it really does take a village. And I was actually talking to my cousin the other day as well. You know how some cultures really do lean on that. It takes a village. Like, it's an entire village that depends on each other to be able to raise a family, raise children, just go through it all. You're not meant, it's not meant to do it alone, So I know for a fact that's the biggest one, where I'm having this debate sometimes about moving back up north. Because again, like, I can definitely build my support system. And of course, I found some really, especially one of them that I can really think of. Hey girl, if you watching, that is a really good friend, but she has her own life. She has things going on. And yes, we say that we're here to help each other, but I know it's already tough enough. And I would hate to put that burden on somebody else. I just sometimes feel more comfortable being like, hey mom, can you watch the kids real quick, or whatever the case may be, just with those family members that that's like, if I can send them with grandma or my great grandparents or something like that. To me, that's a lot easier than trying to put that burden on somebody else, or trying to find another family, or even outside of just maybe, say for instance, paying for a sitter, doing that because I don't know this person from what, like, I don't know. So it's just kind of tough sometimes having that battle, where I just feel like sometimes I want to flee back up north, or should we stay down here and start to outsource help, because we're gonna need it, period. Not having that time with my spouse at times definitely gets tough. So yeah, we can put the kids down for bed, we can do all this and do all that, where you can get that time in and be intentional. And of course, I know couples do this to make it work with their situation. But for me personally, I just have to be real with myself and say that's not enough. Like, I'm an adventurer. I like to go out and see things and do things with my spouse. So yeah, after so many times of sitting in the house and watching TV or whatever we're going to do, I'm like, okay, I just want that little taste of something else, where I can just be like, hey, I'm about to give our kids to my mom, and we can go do whatever you want to do for a little bit. So those are the reasons sometimes that I just feel like I really run myself thin. It's not good, but it is real life. So let's get into, I guess, like the solutions or kind of what I've been doing to help work through this or not try to run myself thin so much. And if I do run myself thin, what I can do to like change it around. I do have to warn that my daughter is waking up from a nap. So if you see her actually pop up, I am on YouTube doing video podcasts as well. So if you see her pop up in the video or give me a quick intermission to go get her, that's why. But anyway, so number one, sometimes I have to dial back, and I did create these to-do lists, cute little to-do lists with affirmations on them. And they only had 3 lines, 3 things for you to focus on throughout your day. And I feel like I might have to go back to that at times because, again, if I'm trying to wear myself thin with multiple things that I am doing, it's time to dial back. I just have to, again, be realistic and set realistic goals. And I actually was challenged by my good sis to do one thing. Now, when she said that, I kind of was like, oh, snap, one thing. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough if I do one thing. Like, who just does one thing throughout the day? Like, I got so much stuff that I need to do, I'm trying to accomplish. But sometimes you do just need to take a step back because you are only one person, period. So that's my goal. I'm going to try to work on between 1 to 3 things. Again, trying to get those 5 things done just really may not be realistic, especially with me trying to keep the kids busy and out the house and so on and so forth. So I feel like I might have to go back and start using my to-do list. Like I laminated them and everything so that I can use them weekly, erase my days and start over for the next week of what I'm going to do. And it's 7 of them. 7 days a week, figure out what I'm gonna focus on, and that's it. That's all. And sometimes me and my spouse, and sometimes you have to hear from somebody else other than your spouse, because I'm thinking he don't know nothing, he don't whatever, but he does have a point sometimes where he's like, kind of focus on your priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. And at first I tried to fight him so hard on that because I'm thinking like, well, first of all, everything is my priority. A lot of things are my priority. If I'm trying to grow big in content and do content stuff, that's number 1 priority. I still have to take care of house and home, and that's number 1 priority. My kids are number 1 priority, but then you really have to be, again, realistic and sit down and be like, well, how about I take care of maybe these things first, for instance, maybe taking out dinner or blah, 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 before I do some content. And then, it's funny because talking or meeting with a lot of moms, I've heard a lot of moms actually say that they use their responsibilities as content. So you'll see a lot of these mom content creators recording them cleaning up, recording them cooking, doing simple tasks every day that we have to get done, right? And they will turn it into content. Brilliant idea. So at that point, it's like, okay, you got the laundry done, you got the cooking and cleaning done. That was 1 priority. And now you can sit back and edit the content because those things are done without you feeling like, oh, dang, like, what type of content am I going to put out? Or I did this content, but now I have to edit it out, and putting that above maybe your other chores that realistically comes first. So again, just taking a step back and looking at my to-do list is something that I have to dial back to sometimes. Thinking that I don't need a to-do list or thinking that I'm super mom or I'm superwoman and just trying to do it all is not realistic for me. So now another one, this one is my favorite because it kind of goes into making a to-do list and trying to do everything at one time. It's an African proverb that's often used to highlight the power of collaboration and support. So it kind of go hand in hand with the thought that I just talked about and the next thought that I'm going to talk about. And it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So again, me trying to do everything, boom, 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 get everything worked out, get it done. Oh, I'm gonna go fast. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go fast. But then how far will that get me? Not far. It's gonna lead me to burnout. It's gonna lead me to frustration. It's gonna lead me to kind of looking like, where did my life go? Because I was too busy focused on this one thing. But if you want to go far, go together. So in my notes, I have another thought where, again, I mentioned the support thing. So like, I'm starting to be realistic with myself, like I said, and being like, either Naya, you need to make that executive decision and say, hey, we're going to move our family back up north, or we are going to outsource some help down here, period. You cannot go far doing it by yourself. it's only gonna last so long. And like I said, I can see that happening with my relationship. Again, not that we're in a bad space, but sometimes we do get to that point where we're like, dang, like we wish we had a little bit more time together, or we wish we could do this and da da. But that's because we're trying to do it all alone. But if we had that help to say, okay, yeah, maybe once a month we could go on a little date night, hire some help, or if we were at home, I can go drop my kids off with my mama, probably more than once a month. But it's just certain things where you kind of got to be realistic about how which way you want your life to go. You got to choose your difficult is what I really feel, because it's all gonna be difficult. Of course, it's never, no route that you take is gonna be easy. But that African proverb really set in with me, because it was like, dang, like that's right. You can sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm trying to do this, blah blah blah, but when you're going fast and doing it on your own, you're not thinking about what's going on around you. How could you? You're not thinking about your children, you're not thinking about your spouse, and half the time you ain't even thinking about yourself. Because think about a lot of the very, very successful people. When you look at their interviews, or if they talk about what they could have done differently, a lot of them do say, like, I feel like I could have paid my health more attention, I feel like I could have paid my family some more attention, so on and so forth. So it's like, make it make sense. If you're not trying to go that route, then you might want to go, if you're trying to go far, you might want to go with help and support. So again, like I said, just sometimes just being realistic with myself and saying, yeah, I might need a little bit of help. That's okay. Because honestly, for me, and my spouse used to get so mad at me when I say this, but I do feel like you're stronger when you're asking for help. I don't think you're that strong when you're trying to do it all alone. Because again, other things are crumbling and falling when you're doing it alone. So how does that make you stronger when by the time you come out of it, you're not that strong? So yes, at the end of the day, I have built some resilience. I have built some character doing this with my spouse, and it's just us trying to raise our babies down here. But again, how far is that going to get us? Like, I don't, that's just the best way that I can explain it. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't seek help. Now, I get the people that may have got quote unquote burned before, or can't really rely on their whoever they want to ask for help, but that's something that you have to reevaluate within yourself and those people that you may be asking for help. And that's just real life. If you see that you can't rely on this person, stop asking. That doesn't mean that everybody won't be able to help, but find ways to get you help that works for you and your family. For real, mama, because it's time. Like, we got to stop being frustrated. We got to stop feeling like we got to carry the whole entire load on our own, whether that's you asking for your partner to help them out more. And I know how that can be as well, because that's going to be another podcast episode for another day, where, you know, you may feel like, okay, I'm doing this all alone, whether you a working mom, stay at home mom, whatever type of mom. Sometimes we do have those moments with our spouses where we looking like, hello, can I get a little bit of help or what? But just figure that out. We got to figure that out, okay? So that's another thing that I've been working on, is just being real when I need to speak up and say, hey, I need help. And then also, I did mention the feeling guilty part. So I have to just stop. That's just plain and simple. I know it's easier said than done, but you just have to stop feeling guilty about getting your peace of mind, because how else are you going to get your peace of mind? Believe your partner going to get their peace of mind. So you have to stop being guilty about taking that moment to get your peace of mind back. Those kids will be okay. The house and home will be okay. And again, communicate those things to your partner if that's something that you worry about, or communicate those things to your help to say, hey, I'm also worried about this. Because I know, like I said, a lot of the times I'm like, well, I don't want to do this because it's bath night for the kids, and then I still got to do this and da da da. Communicate that so that you can get that help, so you can get your peace of mind. Because all of it gets tiring. All of it gets redundant. I don't care, again, what type of mom you are. All of it gets redundant after a while, where you like, whoa, I really need this break. Somebody help me, please. And with that not feeling guilty, it's time to create a schedule. So again, for me, I kind of felt guilty again with being like, okay, maybe every week I do need to take maybe Saturday or Sunday to just have 4 hours to myself. And then at one point, I remember it became like the whole day, because I felt like 25/8 366, I'm taking care of these kids, and yeah, I'm gonna just need one whole day, maybe from like 8 o'clock to 8 p.m. to be like, yeah, when the kids get up and the kids go to bed, I'm off duty. And that's fine. Again, you have to figure out what works for you. So I think for me, again, going back into this routine and setting up this schedule, communicate with my spouse. My day will be, especially with football Sunday, because he's mostly in the house watching TV, watching the games anyway. Maybe Sunday early morning or whatever time Sunday works best for us. Basically, figure out that schedule. And that's just the real. Set it and stick to it. Set those boundaries. Again, I've talked about this before, but you have to set those boundaries to say, hey, this is my time. I really need to take this time, and that's what I'm about to do. I'm not worried about nothing else. I'm not worried about nothing else. And then when you set up your schedule, maybe even plan out what you may do, whether that's going to be self-care, whatever it's going to be. I know a lot of times it's so funny because some of my family used to tease me because I'm like, for me, honestly, sometimes self-care or like my alone time could be grocery shopping by myself, because at that point I'm able to focus. I'm not kind of like, of course I'm watching my back because I'm still a woman, but I'm not watching my back to be like, oh my God, somebody about to take my kids or whatever the case may be. I can just focus. I'm not trying to tell my kids to stop licking on the cart. I don't have to be doing all this extra stuff while I have to shop. I could just peacefully shop, whether that's groceries, clothing for the kids, whatever I need. I can even go shopping, whatever I may need to do without the kids. That's considered my alone time as well, because sometimes you know how I can get with them kids. So maybe even just plan out what you would do. I know a lot of the times my go-to is to be like pampering myself, getting my hair done, getting my nails done. I've made a video about it before, but like on my socials, maybe just going to the park to edit my content in peace, or just sit there and stare off into the water and think about whatever I need to think about, plan, whatever it is. You just got to make sure that you set that time in, and then figure out what works for you and your family as far as how often. For me, it's every week. So again, mama, I just want you to know that you are not alone at all, at all. Please understand that you are loved, heard, seen, understood. If you are struggling with frustration, getting snappy, I know sometimes they even call it like postpartum rage, we got to figure out why. Figure out the triggers, and let's figure out what we can do to curb theirs. What we can do to curb their a little bit of a tongue tie there. Figure out what we can do to curb those situations and make it better. As always, you are free to DM me on any of my social platforms. I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram. You can email me. I have my email listed on my TikTok, Instagram, and my YouTube. I want to hear your experience. I want other mamas to share their experience with each other. Again, I created this community for everybody. Again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, a Mommy and Then Some podcast. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, share with other mamas, and see you in the next episode.